Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to talk about a different kind of work camping that gets you a free spot, allows you to travel more, and you'll earn a lot more money than the traditional work camping. Come on, watch our video and you'll see how. Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Jim.
I'm Corinne.
And today we're going to talk about a different kind of work camping. In the past, we had a couple of videos on working at a KOA and why we thought that was really great. But one of the things that we didn't like was that you're stationary for a long period of time. And one of the reasons we got into RVing was so that we can travel more.
So what we found is a different way to do work camping. So we're still getting free sites. Well, actually, we're getting free sites, and we didn't get free sites in our other. I'm trying to think. We didn't get certainly at the KOA. We were paying for a site, even though it was a good price.
And we were only earning $10 an hour and
Yeah,
had to pay
yeah.
for our site out of
Right.
that.
But we also then we had another work camping job there where we got a free site. We got some money towards electric.
But we still ended up paying a lot for electric anyway.
I know, and we didn't get paid.
Right.
Right.
Oh,
So I was just trying to think of the different arrangements we've had because it's been a while, and so now we found something where we are not paying for our site. We're getting the opportunity to earn pretty good money, and we're getting to travel around a lot more than we had been in the past. So we're pretty happy because that's really why we started RVing, is because we wanted to see more.
Yeah, and you get to choose where you travel. And honestly, in some ways you get to choose how much you make, and that's going to be dependent on how hard you work, quite honestly.
And how many jobs you take.
Yeah. So the way we found this, when we were working at the KOA, we were checking in people, and there was a spot reserved for people who do the guest guides. And we didn't think much of it, and that was 2 years ago. And then last year, when the people checked in, it was the same people again, and I began to ask them a little bit about their business, what they do, and how they get compensated and such. And what I found out that they did is they produced the guest guides. And these guest guides are handed to everybody who checks in to a KOA or any other park that there may be. And then on the inside, there is advertising that is sold around the edges. And basically what they do is they work with the campground, and if there's any changes, new spots, new facilities, they update the campground map, and then they go out into the local community and they talk to the pizza places and the RV washers and all different kinds of businesses and get ads. What the campground gets in return for that is free guides. So the advertisers bear the cost of the printing of the guide. So what I did is I went back to my RV and I did a Google search on this particular company, and I asked basically, how much do these people make in sales, and what I saw was 100,000 was the average. And since we've been with the company, I mean, I've seen anywhere from 50, 60,000, and the top earner last year made 500,000. And so there's all different kinds of folks doing it. There's retired folks, there's not retired folks, it's their primary job.
Yeah, families traveling, it's all sorts of people.
So, Corinne, why don't you talk about some of the skills that are needed for this job?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple things that you need to think about to make you a good candidate for a job like this. First thing is organization skills. I think that's almost like one of the biggest things, because there's a lot of things that you have to do. You're coordinating a lot of things between looking for advertisers, working with the campground, making sure you have meetings, making sure you have, you're meeting your the costs of producing the guides, and all those kind of things. So I think there's a lot of organization skills. So that's the first thing. Another thing would be sales. I don't think you have to be coming from a sales job, but you have to have some sort of experience and understanding of what a sales job is, and more importantly, maybe. Is really the people skills that go along with that. So you really need to be able to be able to communicate, but also find a good solution. It's kind of, when I think back, it's really finding a good solution. What you're offering, what you go in and offer right away may not be what they want, and you may be able to find a win-win, that you can still get them into an ad, maybe for a different size ad, things like that. So I think there's a negotiation, people skills, follow up. There's a lot of those kind of skills that you really need to have to be successful.
And we had a little bit of advantage because we've owned our own businesses in the past, and we've also been in real estate, and we advertised. And so we know the cost and the ROI basically on advertising. And advertising can be very steep. And what's unique about this kind of advertising is that you have a captive audience. And so these are hand delivered to everybody who checks in, and the front office recommends these preferred partners as the places to go. And when we checked in here, they did a very good job. They even circled some of them where you get a discount if you mention the ad, and so on. And so I think it makes it easy if you understand the value of it. Sure. The ads are not that much for a year. I mean, you can get ads, for
anywhere to mid threes. It's according to location too. So I have to say that it is according to location. But anywhere from the mid threes up to, 1,000. Well, I'm saying they go up to like 1,000. It's according to where you're at, and also
the size of the ad. So the ads run full size, half size, double size, and you can buy the whole page if you want it. So print advertising in this kind of a situation is really, really good. Just because it's hand delivered, you have a captive audience. Folks keep these in their RVs. In fact, they hang on to them even after they leave the campground, because they like to know the site that they stayed in, maybe where they want to stay next time they come through, and so on. So,
and I'm sure the people that are watching this video are RVers, so they probably know. And I would imagine you've all seen these guides at most of the campgrounds that you've gone to.
Yeah, and you probably hung on to them too.
Yep.
So it's not easy. I will say that. I think your first year, what Corinne said was the organizational. So we started in October, and we really didn't start doing our first jobs in earnest until January. So that gave us plenty of time to organize our files, prepare our paperwork in advance, so that when we got to a campground, that we were prepared, that we knew who the advertisers were for renewals. We knew new businesses in the community that we wanted to hit. We did all the background stuff up front. I think our second year, we're on our first year. Our second year will be much easier because, one, we're establishing relationships, and two, we have all this set up already.
And we know what we're getting ourselves into. So in the part of, and I don't want to get too much into this, but part of what I think set us back a little bit in the beginning is that we were stationary. We were staying at a place. We did a couple jobs from where we were. So we were actually commuting an hour to go then sell, and then come back, and then go back and sell. It was very disjointed, and I would not recommend ever doing that. And we would never do it like that again. So, and then really until we started going and being
staying at the parks,
it's just it's like night and day the way the job is, and you get so much more, and you also can pop into the office if you have if you think of something that you need to ask or you want to run something by them. You're just there. You also can have like part-time days versus feeling you have to pack everything into your trip. So we'll go out in the morning, and then we might come back for lunch. Maybe we want to take our dogs out. It's a much more relaxed way to do it.
Yeah, your schedule is free. There's really no quotas that you have to sell. They do ask that you do 8 jobs a year. I think we have 15 16,
18,
and we're adding more. There's a map, and I'll put a screenshot of that up, and the map shows you parks that are available, and you could plan your route out, and we did pretty much almost like a figure 8 this year. We started in California, now we're moving east to Colorado, then we'll go up north, cut west, go back into the redwoods,
but
cut back down.
The good part about what we're doing though is we're going to be working, and then we have this gap of about 2.5 months that is just vacation, and we'll be traveling. I think we're staying. What I say? I forget what I'm doing. I think we're staying like a week, a week here, a week there, something like that. We're kind of traveling through, but we'll get to do, it's going to be a lot of personal time too. And the good part is that is going to now be funded by what we're making.
Right.
So we're not touching our retirement. And anyone that's following know that that's always the thing. It's always making sure we optimize all our money for retirement.
Yeah, I would say like some of the people that I mentioned that are in 6 figures, they go park after park, pretty much nonstop.
Yeah.
And you still get a lot of downtime, and it really depends on the job, and I'll give you 2 examples. So we went to one job, and we had 10 days that we were going to stay at it. And pretty much by the 6th day, I had the guide full of ads. And we still caught a few more after that, but basically we had a lot of free time to go out and explore, enjoy the area, and enjoy ourselves. Then the next area that we were there 18 days, and we worked 17 of those 18 days because it was a little more difficult. There were 4 parks, which is considered a cluster. So you're not only selling one ad, you're selling for 4 parks, and that's a little bit tougher sell. So we worked a little bit more, but we were in a beautiful area. We were in Paso Robles, California.
But we didn't get to do any wine tasting, which I can't believe, and we love to do that stuff. So we're looking forward to next year.
Exactly.
Because it's gonna be different. It's gonna be the other thing is that we learned. You kind of almost have to learn each of the areas too. And I think the first time out, it's a little difficult unless you've been there before, and we hadn't been there. So I think it's just learning the different areas because each area is definitely has its own little personality and things that are going on that you may not know.
So how does it work? How do you get involved with this company? First of all, you're an independent contractor, so you're really working for yourself. You're not hired on by the company.
Which is what's really nice about that too is you also design, even though like at the end of the day, all of your stuff has to be given back to the office so they can produce the guides in the way that they need to on the forms that they have, right? So that part is kind of like set in stone. But what's not set in stone is where you go, how you do the job, how you sell, how the prices. I mean, there's a minimum price, but otherwise, you basically are setting a price. You have so much flexibility in it, and which I really, really like. There's no one standing over you and saying, oh, you didn't do, you got to go here, you got to do this. There's no one saying that. Just at the end of the day, they just want to see that, that you've covered the costs and that, that you've done things in the proper order and the way that they need to, so they can produce those guides.
So the way it works is, if you were interested in finding out more, you can get in touch with us, either by leaving a comment below, but preferably direct message. And then we could put you in touch with the company. It's 100% legitimate. You'll go through an interview. And I don't think, I don't remember if the interview.
It wasn't a tough.
No.
It wasn't a high.
It's just trying to get to know you
and what your background is, and
how long you're on the road and stuff.
Yeah.
Then they provide you with training. So the training, I will tell you, is all based on the paperwork and understanding the company, but no sales.
Right.
So the sales part, you're a little bit on your own. And what I mean by a little bit is they do have an annual conference in Tennessee, and you can go and they have training. There's monthly webinars where you can ask questions of some of the senior reps and learn the ropes. And we found everybody to be very helpful. So
in fact, one of our jobs, we knew that there was another couple that was working pretty close, like
half hour.
Yeah, within a half hour of us, and we set up and we met them for coffee, which ended up being how many hours?
5 hours.
5-hour coffee. So it was really good. People are really nice, and they're very supportive. It's a sales organization, but it doesn't feel like people are not cutthroat. So I definitely like that about it.
And then your first 3 jobs, the trainers there working with you, they're going to review all your paperwork. You submit it to them before it gets submitted to the company, and actually they've been there after. They could cut you loose after 3, but we've called and asked questions. Asking questions, I think, is the key.
Yeah.
Ask other reps. Ask us if you get hired on, and how to do different things and what's worked and what hasn't worked.
I also to just make a note about the trainers. Our trainers, we have been in touch with them after the training and after our first 3 jobs, even though we don't have to be. But they've been very supportive as far as, we've had some ups and downs. And, when you feel like the world is falling apart, they kind of were there to kind of pull us back in and say, it's going to be okay. So, and I mean, we really are, it's a funny thing. Like you have like these up and downs. And I think it's all part of the learning experience, because just because you go through the first 3 jobs doesn't mean you're all ready and you all know everything, because you are going to have different areas and different challenges. So, but I would say it's a supportive organization. The corporate office has been really good to work with as well, because I do have to work with them on, there's questions and whatever about changes and things like that, and artwork and all that. So the staff is very good at the home office too.
So speaking of artwork, we'll talk about how we split duties.
Mm-hmm.
And so I typically go out and do the sales, and Corinne probably does all the organization, and she does a lot of the graphic design. We found that doing our own graphic design, and we use Canva to do it, which has made it easier.
Canva is great.
It makes it easier to work with the advertisers, because you can go back and forth with them. Whereas if you have the office do the artwork, and they will do it for you, there is a $25 fee to send a proof to the client. And so...
And when we're selling and we've already closed a deal, we don't really
I don't want to go back and ask for more money. I just
No.
want them to be happy.
And it could come out of our commission, but it's like how many, we just find it. I enjoy doing the graphic stuff anyway. It's a kind of... I find it relaxing, so it's my relaxing time, and so I'm glad that we do. And if an ad is just a renewal, and they say, oh, I just I'm good with what we had, then there's no reason to redesign. So it's not like I'm doing every ad. I'm just doing the new ones pretty much, or if there's a redesign.
And then part of the organization is selecting where you want to work, and then Corinne will contact all the campgrounds, confirm our date, reserve a site for the 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you have to explain to the person, what the program is about if you can't get the manager, right, and that they don't understand.
Yeah, it's the hardest is when you're first calling, and they don't know anything about the program, and then so you kind of have to
It's
just
typically the managers
it's
who
a
know.
it's a gatekeeper. You just got to get to the manager or the owner. But they once you get there, it's not a big deal. But I think it's to me it was a little stressful until I had everyone locked in on the dates, because I had planned it, and then you're like, okay, you really hope that you can get your dates. You want to do it as far advanced as you can, because that way you're making sure that they're going to have availability for you, especially if you know you're going somewhere at a high season. That becomes really important.
Some of the prep work we do before we arrive is we pre-fill out forms. So Corinne will be pre-filling. She deals primarily with the campgrounds. I deal with the advertisers. She'll pre-fill the campground paperwork. I'll pre-fill renewal ads for the place that we're going to be. In fact, I did the whole year's worth before we even left, and it's pretty easy to do. They give you a form. It shows you all the previous advertisers. In fact, it shows you previous advertisers going back several years, and some may have dropped off, and you can approach them as prospects because they've advertised in the past, and for some reason they dropped off for a year or so. And then the one thing we didn't explain, and probably should, is so what's the benefit to the campground out of all of this? What are they getting for giving us the free site? Well, they're getting these guides printed for free. So basically, the advertisers are bearing the cost of the printing of the guide. And so that is why the campground staff really is highly encouraged to support these advertisers and not just tell them their favorite place to go, but really the people who are supporting the business. There is a print cost associated with it, and depending on how many guides they're getting, it could be $2,000 or it could be $5,000. And then how do we make commission? We make commission for everything that's over and above the print cost. We get 65% of that. So it's always a good thing. We're always keeping track of, okay, when did we cover the nut, basically, of covering print? Because everything after that,
then you're working for yourself. That's how we always look at it. We're definitely keeping track. We have a spreadsheet where we keep track of that. That way we can just know, what we're like $200 away until we cover our costs. And then once you cover your costs, you're working for yourself.
Right.
So it's really, it could be really good. And I don't know if we mentioned how much money we make on each of the jobs, like what we've seen.
We've seen several $1,000s on each of the jobs.
Yeah, it could be pretty good.
Yeah, it's you're making a lot more than you would work camping anywhere else. There are little ups and downs. So like right now we're in
Ely,
Nevada. Had to think. And so the first day out, your first day out, you go do all your renewals, and then after that, you go to all your new places and start planting seeds that you'll follow up on over the week. Well, my first day out, two advertisers were questioning if they were going to advertise again because there was something that went on between people at the park, and then another place was sold out to a corporate office. It was a travel stop, and so when you have to deal with corporate offices, and so by the end of the day, I only had $399 towards our
4,000. It was like a 4,000. This is a bigger
they're getting
one.
11,000 guides here, which is around $4,000. So I'm like, oh my god.
I had to bring him back because Jim gets very dark when it gets like that. Like, oh, this is horrible. Oh, we're not gonna. This place. Oh my god, I can't do this. Why am I doing this? And then the next day,
we made like $4,500.
Yeah, it was like the next
more than covered
the knot.
Yeah. So in day 2, the moral of that story is it's always emotional to hear no. and you got to get over that. And even the best of people don't like hearing no or rejection. No. But once you get over it, and day two, we covered the cost of the guides, and now we have 12 more days to sell, and everything that we sell is 65% of that is ours.
Yeah.
And so, if we made $4,500 on day 2, you can just get an idea of what the rest of the days can be like.
We grossed.
We collected.
We collected. So there's a difference between make and collected. But it's not. You have to have a little bit of thick skin, which sometimes some people don't always have that. So,
but let me tell you the good part about it. First of all, I do get a little frustrated just because I'm new. And I'm more frustrated with me than the advertisers. And what I learned was to go back and retool and change my approach. And a great example of this was in Paso Robles, where we were doing 4 jobs at one time. And we really didn't know how to go in and price it correctly.
But we did try before. I want to defend us, because it's not like we didn't think about it. We had so much conversation. We even called an experienced rep to talk about it. And at the end of the day, it just ended up we didn't come up with the right approach. So we ended up having to retool.
Right.
And of course,
the way I was presenting it to 4 parks, it was too big of a pill to swallow. And so what I did is just focused on getting them to be in one of the parks and then upselling them from there.
Yeah.
So they had to see the value and not be blinded by a larger price.
Yeah.
Because $500 isn't much for an ad, but when you're doing 4 parks and telling them it's $2,000, that's a big difference.
And we knew that. We knew that going in. We just didn't know. We just have to, you're still learning. You're learning. Even though this is probably our eighth job, we're still learning. But I think that was a very brutal job for us. We did earn some money, but it was a brutal job, a lot of work. And I think at some points we were actually wavering, are we even going to go back? And we do want to go back. And we actually have made some good contacts there.
Part of it comes down to educating your campground manager.
Yes.
And so we've run into this a couple of times. And let's say we're trying to sell to a RV detailer. And the RV detailer buys an ad and they spend $500 for a year's worth of advertising. And then they come in the park and they see another detailer there, and their cards are all over the
office,
lobby.
And they're not advertising.
And they're not advertising. So it's really important. It's an education process for us to talk to the campground managers about basically, hey, if you're supporting people who are not supporting your guide, we've had several people not take an ad because of that. Yeah. And this one campground that I'm thinking of, they didn't meet print cost, and so that could come out of their pocket.
Yeah.
We still get our free 2-week stay.
And that's back to, those are the people skills that you have to have, because you can't just, again, that's their business. It's their campground, not your campground. You're just selling ads. But when they have practices like that are making it more difficult, you kind of owe it to yourself to at least have the conversations with them and tell them what the impact of what they're doing is, and maybe offer some other options. And I think that's what we do. And in fact, I know that's what we do. I was a consultant prior to this, had nothing to do with sales or anything, but I learned in order to get my ideas accepted is that you basically have to educate. It's a lot of education. And I find there's a lot of education that we're doing in this job too.
Yeah, we had one campground that the campground manager was just an over the top nice person. and had a gazillion cards in their office and would recommend all these places and thought that these businesses loved her for doing this.
Oh yeah, and wait, but this is the one that this is okay. But so that one, so I had a conversation. Actually, we were doing 2 campgrounds at the time. This was early on. The first one, the one that was really nice, because the other one wasn't. The other one wasn't as nice, but she was really, really pleasant and really wanted to be nice to everyone. And once I explained to her how it was hurting her, and our ability to sell and cover the cost for their guides, because that's really what they care about. Because they could be saving anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000 to even more money on having to pay for guides for the year. She was like, "Oh, I get it." She totally got it, and the next time I went there, she had cleaned up all the stuff. She gave me, these are all the people that had cards in here or flyers in here. You can go and try to get them, and if they don't advertise, I'm not putting their stuff out. So that,
in contrast, there was another park out in California where at one point they were missing almost $1,100 in sales that they would have to come out of their pocket and paid for the guides, had we not been able to turn it around. And it was all because the campground manager was overly generous in recommending these businesses, and she thought she was doing really good by them and even friends, and they didn't take ads out.
Yeah.
They didn't reciprocate and support her, and it was a tough thing.
It's hard. It's definitely hard.
So part of it, you have to manage a relationship
for
with.
Sure.
You're in the middle. You're between the advertisers and the campground manager.
Right, because our goal is to sell, and then our other goal is to have them be able to renew next year.
Right.
Yeah, we totally.
So
want
we actually take it personal too, so that we want them to succeed. I just don't want to sell them something and me come to see them next year and them chew me out because they wasted the money on the ad. I really want to see them do well in their business, and if I think that they're not going to, I'll be frank with them, quite honestly, about what works and what doesn't. So like some of them we asked to put like a call to action, like mention this ad, receive 10% off or something like that. And this way they can track it, how many people respond and so on. But anyway, any last thoughts on all of this?
No, I don't know. I think it's really this whole thing has opened our eyes up to a lot of a different way to get money, travel more, and really enjoy why we have this RV. It's really, we really do enjoy it. I think there are ups and downs, and it really goes with the day and how everything is going. Once we cover the nut, everything is happy. So if you have any thoughts about doing it, please reach out to us. We're pretty open about our experiences, and we're happy to answer any of your questions. But I do think it's a really good option if you have the skill set, you have the abilities, and you have the interest.
Yeah, one thing to go back before we end is when I first started thinking of doing all these jobs and traveling a lot more frequently, I thought, oh man, because typically we've been stationary for months at a time, and now we're moving like every 2 weeks. But in a lot of the jobs, we only moved an hour or two away, so nice. The driving has been much less. It hasn't been bad at all.
No. Moving
2 weeks, I thought it would seem a lot quicker.
No, 2 weeks has been good.
Yeah,
actually, it's been really good. It's exciting. We're going through to different places, and we look forward to coming back to some of these places and doing some different things, and maybe we change our route a little bit and we go to other places. So there's a lot of flexibility. Oh, I know. There was another thing I wanted to mention. Because I forget. the other thing about this, and we haven't done this yet, but there's something called aligning jobs. So if if the company doesn't have a job that is in the area, say you wanted to go, I don't know, whatever area, you want to go from A to B, and there's somewhere in the middle of that, and there isn't any campground that we have, and there's a really nice campground that you'd like to stay at, you could actually try to bring that job in-house. Tell them about the fact that they can get free guides and all that kind of stuff, kind of what the service is, and many people do that. So that's another way of doing this. It doesn't only rely on the jobs that are in the inventory, which Jim had shown you.
Right, and I guess that just brought up something else that I could think of. So the other way you can make money is this company has campground reservation system. And really it's actually a really robust campground reservation system, and it's free to campgrounds. Basically, the way it works is if a campground decides to use it, that the people, when they check in, they're charged a service fee, and so for everybody who checks in, then reserves you get 25 cents?
Something, I don't know, something.
It's 25 cents, which sounds like nothing. But keep in mind, we're doing 11,000 guides for this campground that we're at right now.
Some because are 3,000, 5,000. I mean, but
I'd rather have a quarter of that than nothing. So, I mean, it's a great thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, leave comments below. We'll give you a referral to the company. Hope you enjoy it.
Hope you made it through this long video.
Bye-bye. Take care, everybody.